Hello, my name is David Roberts. I'm here introducing a challenge that I'm giving myself, which is to try to make a software as a service business inside of about 30 days with less than $100 in development cost. And I don't know, let's put it at like $500 in customer acquisition cost for the first couple anyway. I'm not really sure how this thing's going to go. I've got a couple businesses under my belt. I'm not a very good software engineer, but I do know how to code. A lot better at knowing the whole picture than I am any one part of it. So, to be simple, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to build a simple inventory system for small businesses that can go in and using a smartphone take pictures of their inventory and list it onto a template website that I'm providing for them that's under their company name, and they'll be able to manage all that inventory so they can basically populate a website with their current inventory with prices and pictures and a contact page, kind of gearing this toward like equipment dealers, people that have gun shops, boutiques, antique stores, the small mom and pop people that may not know how to do, a regular website or just really don't care to. Plan on charging around $49 a month for this. Kind of pulled that number right out of the air. It's really easy for me to keep track in my mind of, how much money that is coming and going. So, a couple of my thoughts so far on this. When you build software, you initially want to start out with something kind of simple to prove your concept. That's called an MVP, minimally viable product. And I've thought about doing this in like a drag and drop. What you see is what you get editor, like Bubble, which actually has a fair bit of programming to it. But kind of deciding against that, I think it'd be just about as easy for me to go ahead and just code this thing. I'm going to be building it in Django. Um, the Python language is pretty easy to pick up if you haven't. The Django platform is really secure. It's pretty easy to use. There's a lot of documentation out there. The funny thing about this one is the what the program does. The listing and plugging it into websites is not actually going to be the hard part. The hard part's going to be the login, the authorization, the billing, getting all that set up. That's actually probably going to take me, I don't know, probably 75% of the time of developing this program. I'm expecting writing the program is going to take me a week or two, maybe, just to get a bare level minimum program that does kind of what I want it to, and it's going to take me another couple of days to work some bugs out. For the goals for the MVP is to, of course, set up the login, authorization, and billing. I'll probably do that first because that's the most likely thing to be kind of buggy. Got to link it with GitHub so I can do some version control. I'll probably be deploying this one through Heroku. I've used Heroku a few times, really enjoy it. Makes it pretty easy to use. Now, one of the things I'm wanting to do in this business ultimately is to change the template depending on what type of business it is. Where if you have an equipment dealer, and you're dealing in farm equipment that you can basically just come into a template that is more geared and more styled toward something that's like equipment or equipment rental or whichever. And or if you have a boutique store, one that's a little more feminine in its styling, and a gun shop of course looks like a gun shop website. um, I may not do that at first. It depends on how hard the coding is to get that template to work right. That's something I've never really done before in code, so I'm gonna have to kind of work my way through that. Um, Once I get everything up and running and get it all tested, I'm gonna throw some tracking cookies in it and kind of move into the next side, which is, um, getting the um, initial customers, which is probably going to be the absolute hardest part of all of this. Now, at $49 a month, and the fact that I live in Alamo, Tennessee, I require almost no money to survive, which is a godsend. Um, Software development can eat capital, so me doing this myself, I'm probably going to have this whole thing built for around $100, but that's just because I'm coding it. Um, if you're talking about between 100 and 1,000 customers, the maintenance cost on this and the server time is probably going to be less than $50 a month. Honestly, with all the databases I'm going to have to use, the pictures on it are probably going to take a lot, but outside of that, I don't think it's going to be too bad. Now, one of the things that I'm really kind of worried about a little bit is I don't want to put a lot of time into coding this if it's not a viable business. That one of the things about an MVP, even though I've got about a week in this, I'll probably be able to do something with it because I have absolutely no overhead cost in software. So I'm not worried about it not losing, not making money. It's just how much, that, if you get 10 subscribers and, they're happy and everything's great, it's like, well, it's awesome. You're making $4.90 a month. Yeah, that's not bad, for the amount of time I'm putting in it. 100 subscribers, that's a little better. 100 subscribers is uh, kind of the cutoff point that most people use for getting software started, and that puts me at about $5,000 a month. But unfortunately, that wouldn't be profit because about half that's going to be getting eaten up in what's consumer acquisition cost. The paid advertising through Facebook, through Google, pay per click. That's just kind of the nature of the game. Is I'm expecting somewhere for 100 subscribers, I'm going to have to hit between 10,000 and 20,000 customers that are in my target market to be able to get, the between the 100 and 200 subscribers that I'm wanting right at the very beginning. Now, what my goals are for the 100 to 200 subscribers is to really engage them and stay engaged and figure out, through, of course, tracking cookies and how they're using the sites. Some of the customers I'm going to be interacting with daily, to kind of, at least in the beginning, to see how they're using it. And I won't be talking to them, of course. I'll be kind of zipping through the site using code to see where they're having issues, where they flow through the site, and what are the biggest buttons they're hitting, that kind of thing. And then I'll start tweaking the site and trying to optimize this thing to grow. If this thing is optimal, if not, I'm cutting my losses and going to find something else to do. One of these days, maybe I'll get a real job. Never know. Go back to gun building, I guess. Um, so, so, like I said, this is going to be interesting. I've never actually built one like this. I'm only giving myself, a couple days. I'm really wanting to keep the costs low. I'm trying to show people that you can build a business without a bunch of money. It's not necessary. It does take time. It does take a lot of effort. That you can build things and actually support yourself by yourself for quite some time. And you don't need, the venture capital. You don't need all of that. You can bootstrap these things. It's probably the best way of doing it anyway because you have a much better understanding of your customers, your target market, your program, your code, the flow of it, the wireframe. If you do all of it yourself, it's a lot easier when you understand the nuts and bolts. And the only way you can understand that is to kind of do it yourself. But that's where we're at. So just to summarize is name of the business is mysimpleinventory.com. My target market is small mom and pop businesses with inventory, whether it's a boutique, antique store, gun shop, farm equipment rental, doesn't matter. If you have an inventory that's for sale, this website would be for you. The whole idea behind this is to be able to do this entire business with our customers on a cell phone. So that means a very simple user interface, very nuts and bolts, no bling, nothing special. And like I said, at $49 a month is not going to hurt anybody, and I think it could help some people out. Now, the challenges on this on code are the URL mapping is getting this thing to where it's easier for people to understand and people can actually use this thing and link to it as their website. So there has to be a logic behind the URL mapping. Fairly easy to do in Django. One of the reasons I chose to go ahead and just code it instead of going through a MVP, software. I think it's just going to be easier to go ahead and build the thing and be done with it. That way I can change it at will. I can update the thing 4 or 5 times a day if I want to. I don't have to completely rebuild the wheel or reinvent the wheel. So probably not going to be the funnest project I've ever worked on, but it should be interesting. Be a learning thing anyway. So ultimately, if I can get 100 paid subscribers and pull realistically $2,000 to $3,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue, that'd be cool. Kind of a big fan of multiple streams of income. Ultimately, I'd love to retire. Probably not going to happen. Most likely this will get just a couple subscribers. It'll be a fun project. It'll give something for me to do. Good thing about software is it, like I said, doesn't have a lot of carrying cost on it. So, this is something I could maintain for a while. But I'm actually not looking for like an overnight success on this. People that do that and expect it are delusional for the most part. That this is a marathon, not a sprint. So when I build this thing, I'm going to iterate it out until I can make it the most perfect, simple program I can. And then I'm going to probably start messing with the pricing a little bit and trying to get that optimized to where, it always works on a demand curve. The more you ask for, the less people you get, but the less people you need. So, and then there's a perceived value that if you don't charge enough, that people don't think it's worth it. So, kind of a strange thing, but that's just how it is. With me doing it by myself, running the social media and the coding and any kind of coding problems that come up, any bugs, is going to be difficult, especially with me having to actually make a living. I build websites on the side, and I'm still partially running a gun company with my brother. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. Like I said, I've never done one of these videos, where I kind of do regular updates and tell people how it's going. But it should, if it works out, it should, be a pretty good idea of, how these SaaS businesses come about and, don't drive everybody insane. But, well, here we are. I'm sitting with a landing page and no logic, no customers, a fair amount of coding knowledge, kinda, not really. I've never done this kind of project before. I've never done anything that takes recurring revenue, so that's going to be completely new. Should be interesting. Well, let's see if I can get this done. It is January 7th, I think, 6th, 7th, somewhere around in there. So giving myself somewhere between, now and 30 days from now to get this thing coded. I have no idea how long it's going to take me. And after that, I'd like to, give myself another 30 to 60 days to get that initial customer base, whether that's 100, 200, 55, it doesn't matter. Just enough where I can get some idea of how to learn, how to iterate this thing and make it better, and hopefully start scaling it. So welcome to my struggle.